back. This is our weekly podcast, The Rest of Us, talking about the weekly episodes of The Last of Us. We have the wonderful Erika here and myself, Lily, and we are missing Nick because this poor guy, once again, couldn't watch the episode. So he's gonna sort it out for next week. He's trying. It's very early for me. It's very late for Erika. So it's a good combo. Time zones. We love these
Coffee.
things. Coffee. There you go. I don't have my coffee yet, but I should have brought one. I'm not
You
gonna
should've.
lie. I did sleep. I did sleep before the episode just to make sure that I'm, here, nice and fresh. Uh,
Fully available.
yeah. We're gonna do a tiny bit of disclaimer this time around because
This is my favorite thing that we've had to add.
we read your comments. We love your comments, but we are watching the episode right as it premieres, and then we are recording right afterwards.
Immediately
So, yeah. So when we terrorize things that are not yet confirmed and get confirmed later on when this podcast airs, we know.
We know.
So, we're smart, but like,
We're smart and delusional.
so bear with us when we come up with all these. Oh, maybe it's because of that, or maybe it's because of that. It's,
And it's
but
always
anyway,
nice too when you're proven right. So like, thanks to that person who inspired that flower theory for me in that first episode, because
yes,
it
you were
appears
right.
correct.
You were correct. You were completely correct about that. So, well done. Well done. I didn't catch that. I'm going to be honest. The reason I didn't even pick up on the Jakarta part when it's in the news in the first episode
Oh no.
is because I was so amused by Tommy and Joel being like, hey, where is Jakarta? I don't know. And they're sort of just going, it's the capital of Indonesia.
Right? Like we
Dumbasses.
should have known that. But we were so concerned with other things. We're like, that's gonna be important later. Speaking of this episode.
Let's get the negative stuff out of the way once again.
Mm.
Let's do that round. So is there anything that you didn't like? Or you are like happy?
I don't think there was anything I didn't like.
Oh.
I'm gonna have you go
Okay.
first because I want to see what you think first. Because
All right.
nothing comes to mind.
So they introduced a lot of new things.
Mhm.
Obviously, we're going to talk about it a lot more a bit later on as we break down the episode. And one of the new things that they introduced is that obviously the infected communicate to these fungi underground systems. So if you step on the wines or whatever, or if something happens to one of them, it's immediately gonna send down the message to the others and they come running. And that's their reasoning why we don't see infected running around in broad daylight. The other reasoning is that the sun, because that scene we already talked about it in our Discord, is very suspicious that they just don't like the sun and they can't bear it and they are just lying around. And my theory was that they are asleep, but there's probably more to it. And here's my fear with that. I fear that once again we will have the Walking Dead situation on our hands, which I didn't like. I'm not gonna lie. Give bigger meaning to the whole people become monsters when something like this happens, kind of thing. And I'm a bit afraid that we're gonna
it's gonna complicate itself a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. That could be possible. I hope it's kind of like a one-in deal. So I also did a little bit of research. So we both were talking about some fungus stuff scientifically. I did a little bit more research too as to like the interconnectivity. I don't remember the specific fungus, but apparently if something happens to one of it connects to the other ones within a specifically 4-mile radius. So I wonder if that's what they're going to do here too. It's like within a very specific radius of network. And I was like, that would be nice.
Yeah.
It makes this series feel a little bit more terrifying that if you disrupt,
yeah,
you fucked.
Yeah. No, I like that. whole
But
thing.
it could complicate itself if they go a little too deep into it.
I'm afraid that they're gonna sideline the whole infected bit,
Mhm.
as because that was my problem with The Walking Dead after a while. Like, it's called The Walking Dead, and then Rick says, "We are The Walking Dead," and I'm like, "Okay, sure." But like, you have zombies, and you only use them when you need like drama and
Mhm.
whatnot, and I don't want that to happen
Yeah, because
here.
the infected are main characters.
So now that I said this, anything comes to mind for you that are like, eh?
Not really. But I prepare to go to the episodes be like, "Okay, if there's something I don't like, it's okay." But I came out of it like, the changes they made, I actually liked.
So let's start at the very beginning, which is very surprising for me. Like, I thought that they just gonna get into the whole let's go to the city hall bit,
Yeah.
but no, we got another very cold opening in Jakarta. So it's back. Jakarta is back. It felt eerie throughout
Oh,
the
yeah.
whole
And
scenes that
ominous.
and ominous. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was like, we know what's going on, but at the same time, we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I I was expecting a jump scare when she went
Me too!
into
I was sitting there, like, my knees up. I'm ready. Bring on the jump scare. I'm ready.
yeah, and it didn't happen. But it was like I found it very interesting, the whole part, because obviously there's this scientist. She needs to take a look at a sample, and then she's like, "Yeah, that's cordyceps, but like, why
Mhm.
did you put it in this and that?" And they were like, "Because it's from a human." She's like, "Yeah, that's not possible." And we were like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, sure." They sent her in to examine a body that is infected with the cordyceps. And I found it incredibly interesting that the woman who's on the table was bit on her ankle. A scientist goes in, does a cut where the bite is, and you can see the cordyceps under. I know, trust me, I know. But here's the thing, and I think a lot of people don't talk about this enough. Uh, they refer to what's causing Ellie's immunity as a
Mhm.
parasite in her brain, basically. Like the cordyceps got stuck in her brain, and it's in the second game.
Yeah.
Like it's a conversation between Marlin and Abby's dad, basically looking at the X-rays and or not the X-rays, the MRI scans and whatnot. And they are like, it's in there. Like she has the cordyceps in her brain, but they can't spread.
Yeah, they're just,
And
like,
I
stuck in its
stuck.
own paralysis.
Yeah. And I never see enough people talk about this, and that's why I found it incredibly fascinating that as she cuts the ankle, there it is. It had a tiny bit of jump scare when she was going into the mouth. I was like,
We all knew what was gonna happen too, because 'cause we're just like, "Oh, she's going to oh, she knows what she's gonna find in there," and the fact that it was also I'm so sorry. The fact that it was also detached and still moving towards her
"Ew,
was horrifying.
ew, no,
Horrifying.
ew." The nightmares are just restarting again. I know.
And that wasn't even the worst of the tendrils
No,
this episode.
no. I don't wanna talk about it. Ugh,
I'll talk about it for you.
okay. But anyway, beautiful scene. I was they keep pushing this idea that there's no cure and there's no vaccine and you can't do anything because they said it in the first episode with John Hannah, and now they said it in this one as well, like bomb the whole city.
Yeah,
That's what she says when they are like, we need you to make a vaccine or something. And she's like, no, just bomb the whole city.
there's
And I'm
nothing you can
like,
do.
I don't know where they want to go with that. I feel like they want to make what Joel does in the end more reasonable,
More palatable.
more palatable.
And I liked how it actually turned into a callback later in the episode when they walk past one of them in Boston. They're like, "Oh, the bombs worked here, but not
Yeah.
everywhere else was lucky." And I actually, a couple of weeks ago, was watching a TikTok of people who were in the apartments surrounding where that was being
Mm,
filmed. I think I sent it to you guys, and they
yeah.
were recording that exact part where Tess and Ellie were standing there talking about the crater, and Joel
Yeah.
walks by. We saw that 2 or 3 takes, and I was like, "I'm gonna have to watch for that in the episode. That's gonna be fascinating." And it was there, and I was like,
It was
"I
yeah.
watched that be filmed through TikTok."
But yes, so Yakata comes in, goes away. We now have like the whole explanation of how that started, and then intro again. I skipped it. Sorry. I'm sorry. I always did with Game of Thrones as well.
No
That's
wonder you were ahead of me.
yeah. That was the reason I was like, yeah, skip it. I look. I love the music, but give me the good stuff. I want.
That's the good stuff.
So we get what you pointed out. So I will let you take over the whole starting of Ellie.
I noticed that she is bathed in light. Like, that is not something that's, like, they're being subtle about, which I thought was
Mhm.
interesting because I was like, "That reminds me of the Firefly logo, 'When in darkness, look for the light.'"
Yeah.
Those 2, like, Tess and Joel, are literally just sitting there in the dark looking at this girl who is immune and is potentially the one to save us all. They're in the darkness looking towards the light, and I was like, that is some seriously cool symbolism because they did that on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
It was absolutely beautiful, and I thought back through last episode, and there's a
Mhm.
couple of times where she just is in straight up sunlight, and I'm like, "She's the light." And it's
She is the
it's
line.
it's fun seeing it used through, like, cinematography and making things look so stunning. She is the light in the darkness that they're talking about.
Yeah. It's so smart,
So
honestly.
smart.
I like when TV shows or movies even do something like this. It's like,
Yeah.
"We see what you did there."
I see you.
See?
I
So
see you.
good. I love that scene. I loved
Beautiful.
how, in the game as well, Tess was more willing, to accept that Ellie is
Mhm.
immune, and I like how they brought this in the episode where, like, Joel is like, "Oh, like,
Grumpy about it.
like, she can still be infected, and this is stupid, and we should leave," and I'm like, "Mhm, yeah, that's a very Joel thing."
It is
That's very
very jolting.
Bella Ramsey.
Oh, I can't get over how good of an Ellie she is. They are.
They are, yes, sorry. Oh,
I'm sorry.
I
I'm getting used to their new pronouns, so I wanna make sure I do it right.
same. Yep, yeah. So, they just brilliant, like,
Ugh,
for all the haters out there, shut up.
seriously.
What are you watching? If you don't find this exactly the same as Ellie in so many ways, and
Even the way
then
that they walk. I was like, "Oh, that's a little sassy Ellie right there."
they add so much more to it as well,
Yeah.
which I just love. Like, there's a new layer to Ellie in there.
Mhm.
And here's where my beef comes in, because if I remember correctly, I just currently replayed it, so I should be remembering correctly. Didn't we go in the collapse building?
So I have been playing the game almost side by side,
Yes,
with this, and that's what they should have done in the game is gone through the building that was tilted sideways and then kind
that's
of
what I
go
thought.
over and through. But I'm kinda glad that they didn't, because looking at that building, that is sketchy, and I don't think they could have actually done that very well. But I was at least happy that we got the, "Hey, here's the buildings, and here's exactly how it looks." So at least gave us a taste of that, even if going through the building wouldn't be realistic enough. But not, like,
Mm,
realistic enough, but I guess, yeah, like, realistic
yeah,
to kinda go through all of that and
yeah,
not
yeah.
die, because that's when they get introduced to the clickers for the first time, is in the building, but they
Mhm.
decided to do it with the museum instead.
I was a bit like, "So you're gonna put it in there, but then not go in there?"
Yeah.
And I was
At
a bit
least they
salty
yeah. Yeah,
at the
I can see
beginning.
that
I'm
because
like,
they
"Mm,
I was happy that at least we're like, "Hey, here's the building." Back in the museum, I actually had a friend message me about something that they were annoyed about, and I was like,
oh,
"Tell me." And they said that they thought the clicker's movements were a little too human and not like, I guess, not acrobatic enough,
I
which I
I'm
thought was
not sure
interesting.
I'm not sure I agree with that.
Yeah, because 'cause I'm gonna go back and look at it, but I was really glad that it was all practical. I
Oh,
turned to
yeah.
my husband, I was like, "Hey, I did that thing. Hey, hey, hey." I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
"That's all
yeah.
practical, none of that
Yeah,
I
it
believe
is.
is CGI."
Nope.
And he's like, "Really?"
Yeah,
Looking at it, I'm like, "Yeah, there's a
yeah.
reason why this
That's
is millions of dollars an episode. A
it's
lot
just
of
it
money."
once again proves that practical sometimes it just works better. You don't have to do everything with CGI.
Weta Workshops proved that with Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
come on.
practical, when you can do it, because not only does it help us visually see it, it
Mhm.
also helps the actors having
Yeah,
that thing there. It causes their acting to just be even more
more
enveloped.
re
The
yeah, 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 yeah.
which was terrifying, that scene where, like, we've all had to do it, reload the gun, and the scene is slowly closing on his face, and I'm like, "It's gonna be right
Yep, I know. I know. The terror, the
there." The terror.
terror, I'm telling you. But they did it very well because obviously because they choose the long route
Mhm.
going through the hotel and everything. And then they realize that, oh, like, all the infected are very, very close to the city hall. So they have to take the riskier route, which is the museum. And that's where we get the first, the two first new things because
Mhm.
obviously as we see them trying to get back into the building, first I was thinking that they might be just sleeping or hibernating or whatever,
Yeah.
because
The
but
ones on
then
the
it
stairs.
yeah, 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 but it looks like that they are actively trying to get back, but they can somehow.
It looks like they're all dried out and dead because she steps on the arm and it just kinda goes.
Not talking about the museum.
Oh,
I'm talking
oh,
about
the
when
ones
they
outside?
spot them. Yeah, ones outside.
Oh, yeah. It was almost like at first I thought they were, like, feeding on each other and
I
just kind of, like, just
y-
moving, and I was like,
yeah,
"What are they doing?"
it was very weird,
It was
especially
terrifying.
because it looks like that they are kind of afraid of the sun.
Yeah, it was almost like a wave of them, like,
Yeah,
turning over.
yeah. I don't know if they are afraid or if they are feeding off of the sun because obviously this whole infection could
Yeah,
work because global warming.
yeah. That's how the
So
fungus mutated, evolved.
yeah, evolved. Yeah, and fungi, as I just found out
Yeah.
through my scientific research, which I was just googling. So nothing special, that they do need the warmth. Like that's why they are usually hiding under trees and whatnot, because that's where it's the warmest, and that's why they are underground a lot of times because they need the warmth that comes out from there. So maybe
Yeah.
they were just recharging. I don't know.
They're recharging. They're solar powered. So I have 2 things I wanted to point out.
Yes.
So, Ellie's talking about, they're like, "There's scarier things out there," and she talks about a bloater and how it will she's like, "Oh, the creatures that will tear off parts of themselves and throw spores at you," and I was
Yeah.
like, "You said what now? Spores, you say?" So it looks like
Spores.
the bloaters are gonna still tear themselves and throw spores.
I'm not sure based on Tess's reaction.
That's what she said, and so I'm gonna be very looking at it.
I think it's just because Tess disregards many of Ellie's
That's true.
things
So
as
it might have been just been a nod.
it
Either
might have.
way, I,
Yeah,
like, freaked out and I was like, "You just said spores,
yeah.
child."
But otherwise, I don't know what's the function of bloaters if they're not gonna throw around the infection itself, basically with the spores.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna find out because
Yeah.
we already got a glimpse at a bloater, so we're definitely gonna get one at
Mhm.
least. There was more than
Yes.
one. Just pointing it out.
And then my other thing was, so For if you didn't notice this in the games, good on you,
Mm.
because so there's this thing called Naughty Dog Yellow
Yes.
in The Last of Us that essentially is kind of like a focal point of like, hey, this is a general direction you should go. You're going the right way. If you didn't notice that, good on you for just figuring shit out. So I had been watching and I
Mhm.
was like, I wonder if they're gonna throw in some Naughty Dog Yellow. I think that would be great. I don't know if this is on purpose or not, but one of the cars is kind of like a deeper yellow, and then there's some
Mhm.
markings in some random places that like some yellow tape and some random other things. And I was like, is that Naughty Dog Yellow?
It it sure looks like it.
Sure looked like it. And I was so excited because I was like, Brandon, let's look for that's my husband. I
Yeah.
was like, let's like look for some of that Naughty Dog Yellow. And he's like, okay. And so the biggest thing we could find was the car and just like random other things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
thought
yeah.
that was cool. And the
And
tape.
the tape. The
The
tape.
tape.
Yeah, 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 it's
Big
there.
important crafting material.
I think it's gonna be important later on as well. So, if whenever you just, see, the Naughty Dog yellow, think of us. Think of
Think of
Erika most
us.
most of the time because, like, she's good at noticing this thing. Me, I'm just like, "Ah, Last of Us."
That's why I like to go through and try and do, like, a quick second watch
Yeah.
before I do it. Because 'cause I'm like at first, it's like I'm just watching to enjoy, and I'm
Mhm.
catching some things. I'm like, "I need to go back and look at that specific part just to make sure I saw what was right." Which leads me to one of my last things I noticed.
Okay.
Um, I don't know if this is on purpose either. You know what? Doesn't matter. I saw against one of the cars, there was a little, giraffe stuffed animal just, like, embedded in, like, some trees and stuff. It was kind of like uh, it was, not really glossed over, it was kind of lingered looking at this little
Mhm,
stuffed
mhm.
animal. I was like, it's a little foreshadowing for Salt Lake that we're gonna see a
Yeah,
giraffe. I'm
yeah.
very
Oh,
much looking forward to that. Um,
that has to happen, like,
yeah,
come on. If they leave that out.
I'm gonna be very upset. I live in Utah, and so I could go over to Salt Lake after, like, before or after the episode and take a picture. Like,
Yeah? Oh, you have to do that.
I could totally do that.
Yeah, come
Well,
on.
like an hour and a half-ish away, but you know what? I'll
That's
do it.
not too bad.
I commit to the bit.
Good, good, good.
Yeah.
I like that, I like that, and I like that you notice these kind of things because now it's gonna give me an easier time to find it.
It's true. So
Little
I'm
Easter
excited
eggs.
to see everyone in the comments pointing out their Easter eggs as well because that's one of my favorite things. I did wanna ask you too
Yes.
about how you felt about the change to, Tess's death.
Huh.
Not like her death specifically, more like
Okay.
the build up to it without
It
yeah,
was first of all, beautifully acted. That was my first thought, like, Anna is just such a good choice for Tess. Obviously we knew that it's coming. Uh, it came a bit differently, but I didn't mind it. I freaking love the practical effect that they did the bite
yeah,
on her shoulder, and then keeping in mind that they did this chart in the first episode of how much time does it take for you to turn,
mhm,
depending on where you got bitten. Uh, I think they put a lot of emphasis on that because based on that chart, Tessa only has like an hour.
mhm,
So
yeah,
once they leave the museum, she becomes really like, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Like,
that's
we have to
why
go.
yeah,
I freaking loved it. I loved how she became, really, really upset that the fireflies are all dead. How, she started to
yeah,
look for a map or something, and then we got one of my favorite lines that's just heartbreaking. Our luck had to run out sooner or later, and I
yeah,
was like, oh, shut up.
yeah, I
It's
Jill's instinct was like, she starts to walk towards me, he's like, "Uh-uh."
yeah.
But it was great seeing too another almost carbon copy of the game where she grabs onto Ellie is like, "This is real." And it was nice too having her additionally get bit for
I think that
visual
was
comparison. It was a great choice
it was
for
also for Joel to
it was
believe.
for Joel. to believe.
because,
So,
I think that's what they choose to go with instead of the spores.
yeah, I think that was a great choice to
Yeah,
especially for this, for Joel to physically be able to see it's, like, practically healed, but Tess's looks bad.
yeah, yeah. I liked her twitching as she was, taking her hand away from Ellie and just, like, the
And
tiny twitch.
I was just thought of this. That's probably why. So Joel after he's, broken his hand, but in the beginning he's kind of like holding onto his gun, releases, and his hand starts like shaking a bit. And that's when Tess is like, "What's going on with your hand?" He's like, "Oh, it's a hairline fracture."
Yeah,
Because he started to kind of get a little twitchy and shaky, and she was like,
yeah,
I was like, "Oh,
yeah.
never mind, you just broke your hand." But then we get the visualization of her getting twitchy and shaky, and we're like,
That's a
"She didn't
different
break her
kind.
hand."
Nope, nope, that's a different kind. Just to quickly get back to the whole, hairline fracture. I love that they old. Like, they are, like, properly, like, "Our knees can't take this much steps." And I was like, "Yes." Like,
It's probably why Joel's not crouching very much.
as we found out, like, they can only crouch for a certain amount of time, which is very fair.
Pedro's
Jo
like 47, so the poor guy probably couldn't do it anyways.
Yeah.
That's a lot of crouching.
It is a lot of gouging, but the whole thing, making it realistic this way as well, I think it's very smart
Mhm.
because in the game you can kind of forget that they are like 50
Oh, easily.
easily because they can do almost superhuman things with the whole
Mhm.
running around, going around, whatnot. And here they just remind you of them. They are like, look,
Yeah.
that's a 50-year-old there, and it's not that easy anymore, okay? So just
Yeah.
deal with it. Just deal with it.
There's also I was gonna say visual and pointing to my ears. Um, when you put on headphones when you're playing The Last of Us, so for the first little bit that I was replaying the game, I didn't have headphones on, I was just letting it go through my speakers.
Mhm.
And then I started to get towards, like, the museum part and other things, and I was like, "Oh, I'll put in my headphones." I then only then started hearing Joel kind of go, "Ugh,
Yeah.
ugh," and, like, making the old man noises, and I was like, "I didn't even notice that till I put headphones on." So if you're playing, put headphones on and you'll hear the old man noises and
I
exactly
noticed.
how it should be. Because I thought the same thing. I was like, "Dang, they're just, like, cruising through," put my headphones on, like, "He's out of breath a lot
Yeah.
more than I thought he was."
I
Mhm.
think, definitely it adds a lot more realistic feeling to it that they are actually getting tired, things
Mhm.
hurt. I love that when Joel in the museum steps on the glass and the clicker, oh my god, fucking nightmares, jumps over to them. I was like, oh yeah, you could see him struggle. Like,
Yeah,
how will I deal with this? How can I get this thing off
yeah.
of me? Fucking scary.
You know what they
Su
coulda used in that moment? A brick
or a bottle.
or a bottle. PlayStation actually posted that on TikTok and
So
Reels and stuff,
funny.
like, characters that we're looking forward to seeing the most, it's Joel holding a bottle
The
and a
and the
brick.
brick. Like, come on. They kinda did it when he pushed over the statue to
That's
distract the
true.
clicker. That was
He
so
did do that.
smart.
And there
It
was the
was
axe for a
the
melee
axe.
weapon, I was like, "Ooh, an
Yeah.
axe."
Yeah, 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 yeah. I
Yeah,
was I was kinda expecting Ellie going rogue and just putting the
that's
knife
what I
in
was
there.
expecting. So I thought it was cool too. So some people may not have liked this, but Joel missed a bunch of his shots.
Yeah, a
And
lot.
I appreciated that because as a player, I missed a shit ton of shots and I still do. And so
Every time.
I felt really into that because I was like, yeah, yeah, dude, I missed all my shots too.
Mhm,
It's okay.
mhm.
It's
All the time.
terrifying.
I
So
would
some
shit
people would be like,
myself.
"Oh, so Joseph had a better shot." And it's like, "Well, go play the game and tell me if you make all your shots."
Yeah, I don't think you do, even if you say so, like, unless you're, like, a fucking pro playing 24/7, just,
I don't have
being
aim
just
assist on because I hate it so much.
I'm
Ugh.
just bad at it. I'm surprised I completed this game. I'm good at sneaking around, but now we know that, with Joel's body, that's
It's
kind
not a
of
good idea.
it's not a good idea. But, I the other thing I appreciated was Ellie being scared.
Mhm.
Like, it's a scary situation, and let's not
Yeah.
forget that, she was seeing clickers for the first time.
Yeah, 'cause she's only encountered runners before.
Yep. So she was properly scared. I loved her little sarcasm
Mhm.
when she walks over the wooden plank and she's like, "What? This is scarier than what was inside? Like, come on, it's just a wooden plank." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, girl."
Yeah, girl. And I also appreciated the nod too that she lied to Tess, saying like, "Oh, so it was just you that went in there?" She's like, "Yep."
Yep.
And
Mhm.
then later she's like, "Oh, is somebody gonna come for you? A mom, a dad, boyfriend?" And Ellie was just like, "Nope.
Yeah.
Ain't no
So
boyfriend coming to look for her."
nope, not gonna happen. But we like these little nods, and yeah, I guess fine. Let's talk about the change that I actually like, but also
I was
terrified
waiting
me
for
the
you to
fuck
bring
out.
it up when you were ready.
Yes, I think I am. I will have nightmares. Just putting it out there. So the whole end of Tess happens differently in here. We get this multi I almost said multiverse, but no, this multi-connection thing that they
Yep.
mention at the beginning as Joel kills recently turned um, runner, and then the fucking cordyceps come up and immediately send the signal out to the other infected. And it's different because in the game, it's Fedra that shows up, and Tess stays behind to give a few
Okay,
extra
so it is
minutes to
Fedra.
Joel and Ellie to get away. Um, but here it's obviously the infected, and Tess goes into Terminator mode. All the oil tanks, I think those were.
Yeah.
Yeah, that she just starts to pour them out. The grenades, just making sure that the whole thing blows up and everything.
I think that might be my only issue is I think the whole, like, trying to get the lighter to work, I think went on just a smidgen too long
A tiny bit,
to
a
where that
tiny
was
bit.
like I was like, "Well, she's not giving much, room for Dolanelli to run, there's tons of them moving past," and then they started to finally, like, collect there in the middle,
Hmm.
and then they
Hmm.
made out.
But
I thought
it's
that would I'll talk about it for you, it's okay.
please, I can't.
Um, so as Tess is just trying to, like, light this on fire and, make everything go boom, um, at first I was like, "Oh, they're not noticing her because she's infected. How clever is that?" And then one starts to look at her and I was like, "Oh, he knows. He knows that she's infected. How interesting." And
Mm.
then walks closer and closer to her and takes his tendrils and ensures that this newly infected person is part of their collective, ensures that
Mhm.
it happens.
Mhm.
And not only was that the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life, it
Yeah.
was also like, "Oh, oh
It's
my god."
horrifying.
It's horrifying,
It, it
horrifying.
it's freaking nightmare fuel. I
It really is.
And then I told you the last episode we did, the first episode we did, I hate when stuff comes out from the mouth. Huh, nightmare. No. And then they do this. Are you serious?
And that's and, like, I think I said this last time, this is only a taste. And so I'm like, here they go, slowly introducing new, more terrifying things that these tendrils can do. Ugh.
I don't know how I'm gonna deal with this. I
I don't know
honestly
either. Like, the whole episode, I was just sitting there thinking, "Oh my gosh, poor Lily. Oh my gosh, poor Lily." I was like, "I hope
poor
she's
thing.
okay."
I'm fine. I'm gonna cry, but it's okay.
I had to I ran out of tissues.
Yeah, it's oh god. I'm definitely gonna have nightmares. I'm just
Yeah.
letting you all know.
But it was also such a clever way to do it. Like, not only because it's the game is also horror, I there was just something about that was just so clever that I loved about it, like, "Ah, you're one of us." But she
Yeah.
was able to finally light it, drop it, and boom.
Yeah.
And And poor Joel, like, one of the last things that Tess was telling him was like, "I've never asked you anything for you to feel the way I feel," and I was like, "Oh."
Mhm.
We all knew he was emotionally unavailable,
Yeah.
um, but it added a new layer to their
Oh,
relationship
yeah.
that makes it hurt a lot more, was that they were more or less together as you can be with an emotionally
Yeah,
unavailable man,
exactly.
um, and it did added another layer of hurt because now Joel has probably lost the almost the very last person that
Mhm.
he was connected with. All that's
Yeah.
left now is his brother,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
It's
eventually Ellie,
eventually, Ellie. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
once he connects with her.
Still, I have to say that they do it so cleverly, the whole thing. I like the changes
Yeah.
still. I'm not gonna say I
Yeah.
don't, even if it puts a little fear in me, like that the thing that we talked about at the beginning of,
Mhm.
I hope you're not gonna sideline the infected. That's all I'm saying. I think they are like a crucial part of
Yeah.
this whole thing. So please don't do a Walking Dead on us. That's oh, so many Walking Dead fans are gonna hate me for this now, but I'm like,
Hey,
I'm
we're
just
everyone's allowed to have opinions.
I know, but you know the internet.
I was talking to the commenters who were thinking about it.
Okay, okay, okay. But yeah, let's do the episode ranking. Tell me your altogether thoughts and give me a
Yes.
rating.
I I genuinely loved the changes. And as we've said before, we're always skeptical of the changes because this is a story we all love intimately.
Mhm,
But as the changes keep coming and the more that they connect with each other and they're not just changes to be changes, the more I love it because it expounds on the immersion a little bit more, fills
mhm.
some plot holes that maybe will happen in the future. I'm really loving the changes. The acting is great. I heard a little bit more of Joel's accent coming through on certain words, so I scratched that from last time. He's still
Yay.
got his accent comes through on certain words, and I was very I was very grateful to hear that. Um, I same 9 out of 10 for this one. Not like the perfect episode. I'm saving that
Yeah.
perfect 10 out of 10. But all in all, I've like, especially with no issues really, other than that one scene going just a smidgen too long. I
Mhm.
thought it was beautiful, and I can't wait for next week.
That's fair, that's fair.
Yeah.
Um, I honestly think it was very good, did really well on the horror. It can do more. I will I will put it like this, it can do a lot more, even though I'm
Mhm.
already terrified, but, you know,
Give us
still,
more.
give us more. Acting is top notch. Like, easily, the casting so far is proven to be excellent. Love Bella so much. I honestly just love them
And
so
then
much.
Pedro,
Mhm.
chef's kiss.
Like, come on, come on. It's Pedro Pascal. He's he's brilliant. We love Pedro here.
Yes.
Um, altogether, I really enjoyed this episode. I really did. Uh, but the fear is in me a tiny bit. It's back. It's back a tiny bit. Hopefully, I will be wrong, and the
Yeah.
infected will be very much involved throughout. So because of that, I'm gonna be the 8.5 out of 10
Yeah. That
on
makes
this
sense.
one.
And I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm interested now too to kind of look at it from that perspective and see how they handle the infected. So,
Hmm.
I like that. That'll
Yeah.
be something fun to watch for.
Yeah. Yeah.
See what
Yeah.
they do
Oh,
with it.
definitely. All right. So yeah, this was us talking about the second episode of the fantastic The Last of Us. Tell us in the comments what you think. It's we
Yes.
we read the comments. We are one of those people. We're gonna read them.
Oh, yeah.
And
So please be nice.
please be nice. We're very nice people. And yeah, I will let Erika tell all the
Yes.
official stuff in the end.
Yes, so this is CouchSoup. If you are interested at all in listening and seeing our pretty faces early, please go sign up as a member. You can get access to the podcast early and have some fun with us. Not only that, but you get access to some games that we do monthly and some other really fun community aspects that, like, we're all friends and we love this community. So please come and join us. We would love to have you.
Yes, please. it's a very good community. We
Mhm.
can vouch for it. It's
Yes.
you will have fun with us. We can promise.
Yeah.
Yeah, see you next week. I'm still wondering when we're gonna get Jeffrey.
I
It's
know.
Barry. I'm like, woo. Barry, we need Barry. We need Jeffrey. Jeffrey's a sweetheart. You're gonna find out very soon.
I'm so excited.
But yeah, this was us for now. Well, hopefully next week we're gonna have Nick back. He needs to sort
Yes.
the whole streaming situation out for that to happen. But yeah, we love you all, and we're gonna see you next time. Until then, endure and survive.
Endurance of back.